that was being introduced was in Ad-Dars al-Rabi' Ashar, lesson 14. And that was fi'l amr, fi'l amr. And let me ask those who are in attendance now, what can you tell me about fi'l amr in terms of which verb do we need to look at mainly to be able to pronounce fi'l amr correctly? Is it fi'l madi or is it fi'l mudari'? You can allow the brothers to take the mic.
Yes.
Up to them whether they want to activate the mic or not.
Yeah.
نعم يا أخي أكرم.
Yeah, نعم. فعل مضارع.
فعل مضارع بارك الله فيك. So you need فعل مضارع, and that is what helps you know how to proceed and how to pronounce فعل أمر correctly. Okay. What does فعل أمر help us to achieve? Why do we need فعل أمر? That's the question to everybody. Why do we need فعل أمر?
It's a command.
Okay. So we need it in order to command someone to do something. Tell someone to do something. اذهب, go away. اجلس, sit down. اشرب, drink. Or it could be in the plural. اخرجوا, everyone leave. اذهبوا, everybody go. كلوا واشربوا, eat and drink. Some of these examples you saw in the previous lesson. Is that screen being shared right now, is it? You can see
Yeah.
the example over here. For example, here you can see كلوا واشربوا. Okay, so let me just quickly go to the middle of التمرين الرابع, which was in الدرس الرابع عشر. This was the one where they gave you the فعل الماضي and they gave you the فعل المضارع, and your job was to write down the فعل أمر. So الدرس الخامس عشر, what it basically introduces, it introduces this lam alif, la, lam alif, la. Now, lam alif, la has more than one use in the Arabic language. And one of the uses of la is to negate something. For example, لا أذهب إلى السوق كل يوم. I don't go to the market every day. Okay. There's another usage of la, which is to prohibit something, very similar to command. It's a command, but in a negative form. So, for example, you want somebody to go, you say, idhab, go. If you don't want that person to go and you want to command him to stay, this is when you're going to use this lam alif. It's called la an-nahiya. La an-nahiya. The lam alif of prohibition. An-nahiya comes from nahi. Nahi means to prohibit, to forbid, or to prohibit. Trying to get that writing to look clearer. It's not doing a very good job. Okay. La an-nahiya. And la an-nahiya, what it does is that it enters upon fi'l mudari'. So again, you need fi'l mudari'. But what does it do this time? You keep the fi'l mudari' exactly as it is. So the only thing you do, that fi'l mudari', which is preceded by la an-nahiya, this is majzoom. Majzoom. Just like fi'l amr is majzoom, the fi'l mudari' that comes after la an-nahiya is also majzoom. So if I was to put lam alif here, la an-nahiya, before yaqtul, yaqtulu, what I should have said also was that the best instance or the easiest instance to learn about fi'l la nahiya is with fi'l mudari' lil mukhatab. That's what I should have said at the beginning. Fi'l mudari' lil mukhatab. Okay, when you are saying تذهب تجلس تفهم. Okay, because the reason why you need this version of the verb is because fi'l amr اذهب. Who is the fa'il?
مخاطب أنت.
Is تقدير is ضمير مستتر تقديره أنت. So when you're talking to the person in front of you, second person, which is مخاطب, in فعل مضارع, and you will say تقتل تذهب تجلس تفهم. So look at all of these verbs that you have on the screen right now, and just I want you to imagine, just for ease, just to make it easy for us, because we've got these verbs handy with us, we'll turn them all into مخاطب. Okay, so we'll have تذهب تجلس تفهم تحفظ. Okay, you with me, guys? تسجد تركع تشكر. جيد. تسمع also. Now what you're going to do is you place la and nahiya before it, and the fi'l becomes majzoom, sukoon at the end. So you say لا تقتل لا تقتله لا تقتله, don't kill him or don't kill it. لا تقتل الكلب, for example. لا تقتل الكلب, don't kill the dog. لا تذهب لا تذهب, and this comes to sukoon on the end. لا تذهب إلى السوق اليوم, for example. Don't go to the market today, the mother says to the son. لا تجلس هنا لا تجلس هنا, don't sit here. طيب. Here's another example. لا تسجد لا تسجد. What could be the context for this? لا تسجد. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Zakaria. Good to see you back. What's the context for لا تسجد?
غير الله.
أحسنت. لا تسجد لغير الله ولا تسجد للقبر. No. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, what's the ayah?
لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا
أحسنت.
للقمر.
أحسنت. ومن آياته الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر واسجدوا لله الذي خلقهن إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. I think that's in Surah Fussilat, maybe, ayah 37. لا تسجدوا. So the same rules that you learned for fi'l amr, that when it is mukhatabun, tasjuduna becomes usjudu. And with the la and nahi, it becomes la tasjudu. It is majzoom wa alamatu jazmihi hadfun noon, removing of the noon. Because the noon is alamatu rafa in fi'l mudari' mukhatabin. Okay, so that was basically some background I wanted to give you on Dars al-Khamis Ashar. So let's go to Dars al-Khamis Ashar. I think the best way is now just to look at the text and see some examples of what we have been talking about. So let's get some readers. Abu Hamza is there. In actual fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to go with the brothers that logged into the room first to make it fair for them. So, Saqib, I'll go with you first and Akram, inshallah, and we'll get the other brothers to read later. I'm not sure if Ahmed, are you reading with us today or not? Just let us know, inshallah, so I can call your name out.
No.
Okay, so it's Saqib and Habib. If you can take the mic, and Saqib, you can read Al-Mudarris, and then Habib, you can read the various students that are talking. Fadda.
أين تذهب يا أبا بكر؟
أذهب إلى المدير.
لا تخرج من الفصل الآن اذهب إليه بعد الدرس.
Hey, Barakallah Fik. So here we have the first example of La and Nahiya. He said, لا تخرج من الفصل الآن. Don't leave the class now. اذهب فعل أمر إليه بعد الدرس. Go to see him. Go to him after the class. طيب. And then Humayun says,
يا أستاذ أنا طالب جديد.
عفوا.
Hey.
This is Ya Ustad with the sukoon or fatha, dhamma,
يا
kasr.
أستاذ تو.
عفوا.
دمّا. يا أستاذ.
Ya Ustad, du. You should pronounce it then. You have to
يا
pronounce it.
أستاذ أنا طالب جديد. أين أجلس؟ أجلس هنا أمامك.
Just wait there for a second. You may remember that some lessons ago we said that when you ask a question and there are two of these alifs or hamzas at the beginning and they become one, and you remember some examples of this? So for example, a followed by the word al-an. So these two alifs, they come together, these two hamzas, they come together, and it becomes alif mad. And you say, al-ana, is it now? Are we going to go, al-ana nadhabu? Are we going to go now? You remember this? Jayyid. So why is it that in this situation, we heard Saqib saying, ajlisu. He didn't say, ajlisu huna amamaka. Why did he say, ajlisu huna amamaka? Answer?
Is it only we use before the Amsatul Wasal?
Barakallahu feek. Because, as you correctly said, that if the Hamza, which is before the word, is Hamzatul Wasl, then this is the one that becomes a mad with Hamzatul Istifham, the Hamza of that you use for a question. Then you say al-ana, okay? In this case, ajlisu, this Hamza is Hamzatul Mudari', and this Hamza is called Hamzatul Qat'i. It's the one that you put the small sign of the Hamza on top. This is called Hamzatul Qata', not Hamzatul Wasl. This one you pronounce it even in the beginning of a sentence, middle of a sentence, wherever you find it, you pronounce it. Whereas Hamzatul Wasl, you pronounce it in the beginning of a sentence, not in the middle. So in this situation, ajlisu, he wants to ask a question, should I sit here in front of you? He says, ajlisu. He doesn't say, ajlisu. No, he doesn't say that. أجلس هنا أمامك. طيب. Then the Mudarris replies,
لا تجلس هنا. هذا مقعد هشام وهو غائب اليوم. اجلس هناك خلف حامد.
بارك الله فيك. So where's the example of na and la and nahiya?
لا تجلس.
بارك الله فيك. أحسنت. He said, لا تجلس هنا. هذا مقعد هشام. What's the meaning of this word? مقعد. مقعد.
Seat.
Afwan again, please, Ayman.
Seat.
Seat.
Place.
Yes, chair.
Yeah,
Chair, seat, exactly. مقعد. And why is there only one dhamma? Easy question.
Because it is mudaf.
بارك الله فيك. هذا مقعد هشام وهو غائب. How do we read this? How do you join these two words together? Is it غائب اليوم? Anyone can help us here?
غائب اليوم.
بارك الله فيك. أحسنت أخي أيمن. So basically, the end of the word غائب, you have this tanween. Okay? What is the definition of tanween? What is tanween? Tanween sometimes is described as نون ساكن في آخر كلمة. It's a noon with a sukoon on it at the end of a word. This is that sound that sounds like a noon sakin to the degree some people they mistakenly they write it as a noon sakin. Like you might find some people if they're doing a dictation lesson and the teacher, for example, he says ghaibun, you might find some people writing it like this, ghaibun, because it sounds exactly like nun sakin, and this hence the definition that a tanween is nunun sakinun fi akhiri kalima. It's a nun sakin at the end of a word. Jayyid. So if this is a nun sakin, and also after it you have alif wal lam, which is with the sukoon, so here you have iltiqa sakinain. In order to get those two words joining together, you will say, as Ayman said, غائب اليوم وهو غائب اليوم. And this is a good time to very quickly mention a side point of benefit. This is in the Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas, where Allah says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. If you stop there, you say قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ. Okay? If you want to join these two ayat together, what do you say? You don't say, as some people mistakenly, they say, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ لَهُ الصَّمَدُ. or قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد. No. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد. قل هو الله أحد أحد الله. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد. Listen out for any reciter that's reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas fast, you'll find that they're joining it in this way, because that tanween is noon, is representative of noon sakin. So well done, Akhi Ayman, for giving us that answer. Barakallah feek. وَهُوَ غَائِبٌ الْيَوْمَ. And he says, اجلس. Here. اجلس هنا فعل أمر. خلف حامد. طيب. This is interesting. Then what happens, Habib? What is this reading next?
أخذوا هذه الدفاتر يا أستاذ.
Wow, this is very interesting, hey? So it looks like, what do we have here? We have three Hamzas coming together. We have to go to the, we've got to take this to the next page. He says, أَآخُذُ هَذِهِ الدَّفَاتِرَ يَا أُسْتَاذُ. Just pause there. Let's go and open the screen. Stop share. Share. Whiteboard. What do we have? We have أخذ فعل ماضي. يأخذ So if we were to follow the rule, original rule, what would be the fi'l amr for this?
خذ.
By following the original rule, what would it be? We know that it's actually khudh, but there was a step before that. Originally, the rule, basically, what do? We take away we remove the fi'l, the harf al-mudari'ah, yes? Then you're left with the first letter here with a sukoon on it. So you need a hamza to get it moving. The middle letter has a dhamma on it. So you will say u'khudh. This is the original situation with this word. U'khudh. Handwriting is a bit poor. Let's come back to that. Yeah. U'khudh. And because of these two Hamza al-Wasl, with this one over here, it was easier for the Arabs to remove these two Hamzas and directly say khudh, take. Okay, now fi'l amr became khudh. Now he wants to ask a question. He says, about himself. أخذ. So you have يأخذ, you have أخذ, you have تأخذ. What's the fourth one? حرف المضارع. You have the يا.
نأخذ.
بارك الله فيك. نأخذ. So here, with regards to this one here, أخذ, تأخذ, نأخذ. Here he wants to ask a question about himself. He says, أأخذ. What was the question that he asked? Let's have a quick check of it. هذه الدفاتر خذوا هذه الدفاتر. So look, see how this looks. Look how it's turned out. What can you see? Alif or Hamza followed by Hamza followed by Hamza. 3 Hamzas in a string altogether. This is like unheard of, unprecedented. So, for that reason, Hamza al-Istifham stays. And these 2 Hamzas, they join together and become Hamza with a mud on it. Like this. أآخذ هذه الدفاتر. Should I take these notepads, these notebooks? Okay. Go back to on. جيد. So then Bashir said, آخذ هذه الدفاتر يا أستاذ. Teacher replies saying,
لا تأخذها يا عبد الرحمن يا عبد الرحيم لا تكتب الأجوبة بالقلم الأحمر. المدرس هو الذي يكتب بالقلم الأحمر.
بارك الله فيك. So what does this sentence mean? He says, لا تأخذها. Don't take them. Then ينظر في دفتر. He starts to look into one of the notebooks, and then he calls out one student, يا عبد الرحيم لا تكتب الأجوبة. What's the meaning of al-ajwibata?
Wajibat, plural.
The answer.
It's not the plural of wajibat, it's the plural of,
Answer.
yeah, what's the Arabic word for the singular?
Jawab.
جواب.
صحيح.
جواب. الجمع أجوبة. أجوبة. So he said, لا تكتب الأجوبة. لا تكتب الأجوبة بالقلم الأحمر. What does he mean to say here? What's he trying to tell Abdul Rahim?
Don't write the answers with the red pen.
Red pen.
Why does al-ahmari over here have a kasra, even though ahmar is mamnu' min al-sarf? Bil-qalam al-ahmari.
Not manut.
Okay, but not man'ut can also be mamnu'.
Because of al.
Because of the al.
Because of alif wal lam. Akram, thank you very much. That's another. Because it's mu'arraf, alif wal lam. So the discussion of mamnu' min al-sarf is always about those words that do not have alif wal lam on them. طيب. Then he says, المدرس هو الذي يكتب بالقلم الأحمر. The teacher is the one who writes with a red pen. Let's see how. We're not very far from the end, but in any case, there's quite a few exercises to do. So what I'll do, I'll just set some exercises as homework. And next class, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we will continue the rest. We'll read the rest of the dialogue or the conversation happening in this classroom, and take some more examples. Take the rest of the exercises on that day. So we'll stop there, inshallah. And what I'll ask you all to do is to go down to the exercises, and it says اقرأ ما يلي التمرين الثاني. Read the following: تذهب لا تذهب، تكتب لا تكتب، تشرب لا تشرب. Then they want you to read these sentences. Type. Let's get some reading from the different brothers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we have 5 at least of us with the microphone. So Thaqib, followed by Ayman, followed by Akram, followed by Habib, followed by Zakaria. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so please go ahead and read. Number 1, please, Akhi Saqib.
يا موسى يا موسى أنت مريض فلا تخرج من البيت ولا تذهب إلى المدرسة ولا تلعب في الشارع
في الشارع.
في الشارع.
Yeah, don't play in the street. You are ill, so don't leave your house. Don't go to school. Don't play in the street. طيب. تفضل أخي أيمن.
لا تجلس في الطريق.
جيد. أكرم.
افتح النافذة ولا تفتح الباب.
That's very interesting. So it starts with fi'l amr and then comes with la nahiya. افتح النافذة. Open the window. ولا تفتح الباب. Don't open the door. It's a command but in a negative form. تفضل أخي حبيب. عفوا, who's next? Was it Habib, yeah?
Yes, yeah. لا تضحك في الفصل.
What does that mean?
Don't laugh in the class.
Yeah, نعم. Zakaria, are you with us? Number 5. Okay. Muzammil, are you going to do some reading with us?
Yeah, I'm quite happy for that.
Bismillah.
طيب لا تأكل في الشارع.
في الشارع. أحسنت. لا تأكل في الشارع. Don't eat in the street. This is actually a good manners of in Muslim lands. In some countries or in some cultures, it's not from good behavior to eat in the streets.
Mhm. You know, Ustad, in the previous, in the sentence number 3, الجملة الثالث, هناك الجملة افتح النافذة ولا تفتح الباب. تفتح ولا لأن هناك اللا ناهية. هل الفعل بعد اللا هل هذا يعني في الآخره هناك مجزوم؟
مجزوم. أحسنت. فلا تفتح الباب. فلماذا هذه الكسرة؟
التقاء ساكنين.
أحسنت. التقاء ساكنين. افتح النافذة ولا تفتح الباب. And because of the التقاء ساكنين, افتح النافذة ولا تفتح الباب. Interestingly, there is a slight overlap over here. If this verb happened to be speaking to a female, you would say افتحي, yeah, النافذة ولا تفتحي الباب. But when you're doing التقاء ساكنين, you wouldn't pronounce it. You would say افتحي النافذة ولا تفتحي الباب, and it would sound exactly the same. So that is where also some confusion comes in. طيب, let's stop there inshallah because it's time for salah over here, Salat al-Isha, and what I will ask you all to do is complete finish reading at-Tamreen al-Thani and write out at-Tamreen al-Thalith, and then what we'll do next lesson inshallah, we'll work on the rest, which is Tamreen al-Rabi', looking at how this la nahiya behaves when the verb comes in different forms, from mukhatab to mutakallim to mukhatabat, mukhatabin, or mukhatabun afwan. طيب, let's stop there inshallah. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू।
ورحمة الله وبركاته.